Jim Carrey's darkest comedy became Hollywood's most controversial payday, involved a stunt coordinator getting fired on the spot, and inspired a future marriage that shaped modern comedy. From basketball trickery to medieval times making history, a Simpsons joke that wasn't actually true, and Chris Farley's agents getting offended over money they never got, the cable guy hides secrets darker than Chip Douglas's obsession with television. Here are 15 weird facts you didn't know about the cable guy. Fact 1. Historic salary sparked industry outrage. When Jim Carrey signed on to star in The Cable Guy in 1995, he shattered every salary record in Hollywood history by becoming the first actor ever to receive $20 million up front for a single film role. This astronomical payday sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry, nearly doubling what the biggest megastars of the era were earning at the time. Action heroes like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone had recently pushed their salaries to around $17 million, while established A-listers like Harrison Ford and Mel Gibson were still commanding around $15 million per picture. Carrey's deal was so unprecedented that Variety reported it sent heads spinning and tongues wagging throughout Hollywood. Entertainment Weekly captured the industry's reaction perfectly with a cover story that showed a grinning Carrey alongside the headline, "You'd be smiling too if you just got paid $20 million. Rival studio executives were absolutely furious about the precedent this set, with one anonymous executive at 20th Century Fox telling Entertainment Weekly that Columbia had set something in motion that ratchets up the entire business and predicting they would self-destruct the industry. Mark Canton, who was in charge of Columbia Pictures at the time, found himself on the defensive, telling Variety that while they stretched things, he promised others were headed in this direction anyway. The deal was particularly controversial because Carrey's $20 million salary represented nearly half of the cable guy's entire $47 million production budget, a ratio that seemed absurdly top-heavy to industry veterans who worried about where actor compensation would go from there. Fact 2. Ace Ventura robes required at negotiations. During the intense salary negotiations that would ultimately secure his historic $20 million payday for the cable guy, Jim Carrey came up with an unusual strategy to keep his legal team grounded and focused on what had brought him to this remarkable position in the first place. Carrey insisted that his attorney and his two managers all wear Ace Ventura dressing gowns throughout the entire negotiation process, creating what must have been one of the most surreal contract meetings in Hollywood history. The comedian's reasoning was both humorous and surprisingly practical. He wanted to ensure that none of his representatives would lose their sense of perspective about where the big bucks actually came from. Ace Ventura: Pet Detective had been Carrey's breakthrough film just 2 years earlier in 1994, transforming him from a sketch comedy actor on In Living Color into a bankable movie star almost overnight. That film had cost just $15 million to produce and earned over $100 million at the box office, despite initially receiving harsh reviews from critics. It was this explosive success, followed quickly by The Mask and Dumb and Dumber later that same year, that created the leverage Carrey needed to demand unprecedented compensation. By making his team literally wear costumes from the movie that launched his career, Carrey was essentially forcing everyone in the room to remember the source of his newfound power in Hollywood. It was a clever psychological tactic wrapped in typical Carrey humor, keeping his representatives humble, while also reminding Columbia Pictures executives exactly why they were willing to break the salary ceiling for this particular actor. Fact 3. Jim Carrey couldn't dribble a basketball. When production began on the basketball court sequence where Chip challenges Steven and his friends to a humiliating game, director Ben Stiller quickly discovered a significant problem that threatened to derail the entire scene. Despite playing a character who dominates on the court with cocky athleticism, Jim Carrey turned out to be completely hopeless at basketball and couldn't even manage the most basic fundamentals of the sport. Carrey himself admitted to basketball coordinator Keith Gibbs that he was Canadian and didn't know anything about basketball, which became painfully obvious the moment he tried to dribble. Gibbs spent 3 to 4 hours at Carrey's house attempting to teach him basic skills, with an entire hour dedicated just to right-hand layups. During one memorable moment in these practice sessions, Carrey went into character and threw a baby hook shot from 35 feet away that sailed over the hoop, over the backboard, over his fence, and hit the guest house, then started running around the backyard, celebrating like he'd just won the NCAA championship. When actual filming began and it became obvious that Carrey couldn't dribble a basketball or make a basket to save his life, Stiller made the practical decision to have Carrey simply mime all the basketball actions without actually holding a ball. The entire basketball sequence was then fixed in post-production by digitally adding in a computer-generated basketball that matched Carrey's hand movements, allowing the illusion that Chip Douglas was a skilled player to remain intact. This creative solution meant that every impressive dribble, every cocky move, and every basket Chip makes in the final film is actually the result of visual effects trickery rather than any actual athletic ability from the star. Fact 4. Medieval times closed. For first time ever, the elaborate jousting sequence at medieval times represents one of the most memorable scenes in The Cable Guy, where Chip and Steven are forced to battle each other on horseback in front of hundreds of cheering dinner theater guests. What makes this sequence even more remarkable is that it was filmed at an actual medieval times location in Buena Park, California, and required the venue to do something it had never done before in its entire operational history. The restaurant and dinner theater closed its doors completely to the public for the first time ever to accommodate the film production, shutting down for 9 consecutive days in January of 1996. This was an unprecedented move for a business that had built its reputation on never disappointing customers and maintaining consistent show schedules. Jim Carrey himself couldn't believe that nobody had thought to set a comedic piece at medieval times before, recognizing the inherent comedy gold in the combination of modern people awkwardly eating medieval-style food while watching staged jousting matches. The venue's cooperation with the production was essential because the scene required precise choreography of fight sequences and horseback riding that needed to be filmed multiple times from different angles. Ben Stiller told Joel Murray, who played one of the basketball players in an earlier scene, that making this movie was like doing a $40 million Ben Stiller Show sketch, referring to his earlier Emmy-winning but short-lived sketch comedy series. The Buena Park Medieval Times location even collaborated with Sony Movie Theaters to offer special discounts to ticket buyers for The Cable Guy, and the promotional tie-in resulted in a 30% increase in ticket sales at the Lyndhurst, New Jersey Medieval Times location during the film's theatrical release. Fact 5. Matthew Broderick's allergic jousting struggle. While filming the intense medieval time sequence proved challenging for everyone involved, Matthew Broderick faced an additional obstacle that made the experience particularly difficult and physically uncomfortable. Broderick suffers from a severe allergy to horses, yet the entire jousting scene required him to be in close proximity to multiple horses for extended periods throughout the extremely long shooting days. The actor had to ride on horseback, handle medieval weapons while mounted, and film numerous takes of the elaborate fight choreography, all while constantly fighting the urge to sneeze and trying to prevent his allergic reactions from ruining takes. Broderick later admitted in interviews that he had to really concentrate on not sneezing all the time during the filming of these sequences. The production team was working under intense time pressure because Medieval Times had only granted them a finite number of days to finish the sequence, and the venue had never closed its doors before, so wasting time on allergic reactions wasn't an option. Stunt coordinator Freddie Heiss had planned the fight and riding sequences so that each actor would perform the majority of their own stunts to ensure maximum realism, which meant Broderick couldn't simply hand off the horse-related work to a double. The actor described the experience as physically draining, noting that while he enjoyed fight scenes and physical comedy in general, doing it over a string of 16-hour days while constantly surrounded by allergens was quite challenging. Despite these difficulties, Broderick pushed through and completed all the required horseback sequences, delivering a performance that contributed to one of the film's most memorable and physically demanding scenes, without audiences having any idea about the biological battle he was fighting behind the scenes. Fact 6. The chicken skin scene was pure improvisation. One of the cable guy's most quotable and disturbing moments happens during the medieval times dinner sequence, when Chip leans over to Stephen and asks for his chicken skin before launching into a chilling Hannibal Lecter impression from The Silence of the Lambs. What makes this scene even more remarkable is that it wasn't written in the script at all and came about completely by accident during filming. During one particular take of the dinner scene, Jim Carrey suddenly asked Matthew Broderick for his chicken skin out of nowhere, catching both his co-star and the film crew completely off guard. Carrey then proceeded to perform his impression of the infamous moment where Hannibal Lecter describes eating a census taker's liver with fava beans and a nice Chianti, complete with the unsettling slurping sound. Director Ben Stiller immediately recognized comedy gold when he saw it and loved the moment so much that he decided to keep it in the final cut of the film, even though it was completely unplanned. If you watch Matthew Broderick's reaction closely during this scene, you can tell he's genuinely cracking up and trying not to break character, because he had absolutely no idea what Carrey was about to do, and his laughter is a real, spontaneous response to his co-star's bizarre improvisation. This kind of unpredictable creative energy was typical of Carrey's approach to the role of Chip Douglas, where he constantly pushed boundaries and kept his fellow actors on their toes with unexpected choices. The improvised moment perfectly captures the uncomfortable and threatening nature of Chip's character while also being darkly funny, which was exactly the tonal balance that Stiller and producer Judd Apatow were trying to achieve throughout the entire film. Fact 7. Stunt double injured. When pyrotechnics failed. The basketball scene contains a moment where Chip performs an aggressive slam dunk that shatters the backboard in a shower of glass, demonstrating his complete domination over Stephen and his friends. However, what was supposed to be a controlled stunt went dangerously wrong due to a technical malfunction that resulted in real injuries on set. The carefully choreographed sequence involved pyrotechnics designed to shatter the glass backboard at precisely the right moment, with the glass engineered to fall safely backwards away from the stunt performer. When the stunt double executed the dunk and the pyrotechnics were triggered, everything went catastrophically wrong. The explosives didn't work the right way and pushed all the glass forward instead of backwards. Basketball coordinator Keith Gibbs later recounted how the backboard glass shattered directly onto the stunt double's face and chest instead of falling harmlessly behind him as planned. The failure was so severe and the safety protocols so badly violated that the person responsible for the pyrotechnics was fired on the spot immediately after the incident occurred. Gibbs remembered that despite the dangerous malfunction and the injury to the performer, the production team decided to use that exact footage in the actual movie because the take itself looked visually impressive and captured the intensity they needed for the scene. This decision to keep footage from a stunt that went wrong and injured someone reflects the old-school Hollywood mentality of getting the shot no matter what, though it's unlikely such a choice would be made under today's stricter safety standards and union regulations regarding stunt performer welfare on film sets. Fact 8. Chris Farley chose wrong movie before Jim Carrey was ever attached to the cable guy. The original screenplay by Lou Holtz Jr. was written with a very different comedic actor in mind for the lead role. When Columbia Pictures purchased the script for $750,000 in April of 1994, they quickly moved to attach Saturday Night Live star Chris Farley to the project, envisioning him as the perfect fit for what was initially conceived as a lighter buddy comedy. Talent manager Bernie Brillstein believed his client would be ideal for the part, and Holtz even took a leave of absence from his day job as a prosecutor to fly to New York and meet with Farley about the movie. Farley had just experienced massive success with Tommy Boy and seemed poised to become a major movie star, making him an attractive choice for the role. However, Farley was offered only $3 million to star in The Cable Guy because the project was initially planned as a modest comedy with a much smaller budget. Around the same time, Paramount Pictures offered Farley another buddy comedy called Black Sheep that would reunite him with David Spade, his Tommy Boy co-star. Despite Black Sheep offering even less money than The Cable Guy, Farley chose to work with Spade again and honor his two-picture deal with Paramount. According to reports, Farley's agents were genuinely offended when they learned that once Jim Carrey expressed interest in The Cable Guy, Columbia Pictures suddenly had the budget to offer $20 million, more than 6 times what they'd been willing to pay Farley. The decision proved costly, as Black Sheep earned only $32 million at the box office and received terrible reviews, while The Cable Guy went on to gross over $100 million worldwide despite its mixed critical reception. Fact 9. Judd Apatow met his wife. During auditions, one of Hollywood's most successful creative marriages began in the most ordinary way possible during the casting process for The Cable Guy. Producer Judd Apatow, who had been brought onto the project to rewrite the script and was also serving as producer, was present during auditions for the role of Robin, Stephen's girlfriend in the film. When actress Leslie Mann came in to read for the part, Apatow took on the role of reading Jim Carrey's lines opposite her as a stand-in during the audition process, a common practice when the actual star isn't available for every casting session. From the moment Mann walked into the room, Apatow was smitten, later telling Elle magazine that he had a soul connection instantly and that he remembered turning to his colleagues after she left and saying, "There goes the future Mrs. Apatow." Mann, however, was in a panic during her nerve-wracking audition and admitted she was initially attracted to director Ben Stiller instead, not even really noticing Apatow at first. After some persistence and help from his sister, who worked for Stiller and talked about how popular Apatow was with the ladies, Mann agreed to go on a date. Apatow made her spaghetti with ragu sauce and Wonder Bread with Fleischmann's margarine at his house before taking her to a basketball game. And by the morning after their first date, Mann said she already felt like she was in love. The couple married exactly 1 year after The Cable Guy premiered, tying the knot on June 9, 1997, in an intimate ceremony in Hawaii, with only a banjo player and minister present. They went on to have 2 daughters, Maud and Iris, who have both appeared in several of their father's films. Fact 10. Ben Stiller plays Menendez brothers. Parody. Throughout The Cable Guy, there's a darkly satirical subplot running in the background that many viewers might miss on first viewing, but it represents one of the film's sharpest commentaries on American media culture. Director Ben Stiller cast himself in a dual role as twin brothers Sam and Stan Sweet, former child stars from a fictional 1980s sitcom called Double Trouble, who are now at the center of a sensational murder trial. Sam Sweet stands accused of shooting his twin brother Stan in cold blood, and the trial is shown playing on television screens throughout the movie, with constant news coverage dominating the airwaves. The subplot is a biting parody of the Lyle and Eric Menendez trial, which had captivated America from 1993 through their conviction in 1994 for murdering their parents, producer Judd. Apatow later admitted he was obsessed with the Menendez case and didn't miss a second of the trial, which was being broadcast while they were preparing The Cable Guy for production. The film even includes a hilarious fake 911 call where Sam Sweet claims an Asian gang murdered his brother, complete with obviously fake panic and racism, parodying the brother's actual emergency call. Ben Stiller styled his appearance to look like an amalgam of the Menendez brothers, complete with their distinctive sweaters and hairstyles that were seared into the public consciousness from constant television coverage. Actor Eric Roberts even appears as himself in a meta moment, starring in a rushed TV movie within the movie called Brother Sweet Brother about the murder case before the trial has even concluded, satirizing how quickly media exploits tragedy for entertainment. Fact 11. The Simpsons joke was based on false rumor. In a 1999 episode of The Simpsons titled Guess Who's Coming to Criticize Dinner, Homer Simpson rips up a script for The Cable Guy, declaring that the movie almost ruined Jim Carrey's career. This joke has been repeated so often in pop culture that many people accepted it as fact, but the truth behind it reveals how Hollywood politics and studio rivalry can create lasting false narratives. The Cable Guy did receive mixed reviews from critics upon its release and grossed $60 million domestically, which was significantly less than Carrey's previous blockbusters like The Mask, Dumb and Dumber, and Ace Ventura. However, the film actually made $102 million worldwide against its $47 million production budget, meaning it was profitable and far from being a box office disaster. The persistent rumor that it nearly destroyed Carrey's career was actually fabricated and spread by rival studios who were furious that Columbia Pictures had paid Carrey $20 million, shattering the salary ceiling they'd been trying to maintain. These competing studios needed the Cable Guy to fail spectacularly to prove that Canton's decision was reckless and to discourage other actors from demanding similar compensation. The idea that the movie had been a disaster was widely circulated by rival production companies, specifically because they were angry about the precedent set by giving Carrey such an enormous paycheck. In reality, Carrey's career continued to thrive immediately after The Cable Guy, with Liar Liar the following year, becoming one of his biggest hits and earning him another $20 million paycheck, followed by acclaimed dramatic roles in The Truman Show and Man on the Moon that earned him Golden Globe Awards. Fact 12. Judd Apatow lost writing credit battle. While Judd Apatow is credited only as producer on The Cable Guy, his creative contributions to the film went far beyond typical producing duties and sparked a bitter conflict over proper recognition. The original screenplay, written by Lou Holtz Jr., was described by director Ben Stiller as basically a silly buddy comedy about an annoying cable guy who becomes a nuisance but never poses any real threat. When Jim Carrey came aboard the project, he specifically recruited Apatow to completely rewrite the script and transform it into something much darker and more disturbing. Carrey described his vision as Hitchcock meets Jerry Lewis and Rosemary's Baby meets The Odd Couple, wanting to blend psychological thriller elements with comedy in a way that hadn't really been attempted before. Apatow took the assignment seriously and rewrote the script to turn it into what he called a funny version of classic stalker films, adding genuine menace and psychological depth to Chip Douglas while removing much of the broader, gentler comedy from Holtz's version. According to reports, Apatow's draft included virtually no scenes from the original screenplay and was a fundamentally different movie. When Apatow sought writing credit for his extensive work on the script, he faced an intense arbitration battle with the Writers Guild of America, which ultimately ruled in favor of giving sole writing credit to Lou Holtz Jr. The Guild's decision meant that despite transforming the entire tone, structure, and character of the film, Apatow received no official recognition for his writing contributions. Ironically, when The Cable Guy was adapted into a novelization, the book's credits properly acknowledged Apatow's significant role in creating the screenplay, giving him the writing credit that the official film had denied him. Facteen, Jim Carrey wanted to die at the end. The Cable Guy ends with Chip Douglas falling from a massive satellite dish and crashing through Steven's car windshield, but miraculously surviving and being taken away in an ambulance while still trying to make friends with the paramedic. However, this conclusion only exists because test audiences and studio executives overruled Jim Carrey's strong creative preference for how his character's story should end. In multiple script drafts written by Judd Apatow, Chip gets impaled on the satellite dish and actually dies, with one version describing how he sacrifices himself to destroy television's hold on society. Carrey was very intent on dying at the end of the movie and believed his character should make that ultimate sacrifice, viewing it as the only appropriate conclusion for someone so damaged and isolated that death becomes his final desperate act of meaning. Apatow later admitted that the ending where Chip dies was something they couldn't get past the studio executives, despite both he and Carrey believing it was the right creative choice. The production actually filmed the darker ending where Chip's fall proves fatal, giving them options during post-production to decide which version would work better. When the film was shown to test audiences, viewers found the death ending too disturbing and depressing for what had been marketed as a Jim Carrey comedy, even though the movie had dark elements throughout. Columbia Pictures made the final decision to use the version where Chip survives, believing that killing off Carrey's character would alienate audiences and hurt the film's box office potential. The The compromise ending keeps some ambiguity about how badly Chip is injured, while allowing viewers to leave with less emotional devastation. Fact 14. Kyle Gass's quietly over-the-top cameo. Among the many celebrity cameos and character actor appearances scattered throughout The Cable Guy, one of the most subtle yet perfectly executed comes from Kyle Gass, who would later become famous as one half of the comedy rock duo Tenacious D alongside Jack Black. Gass appears in a brief scene as a couch potato viewer who's completely absorbed in his television when his cable suddenly cuts out during the climax of the film. The character reaches for a book when the TV goes dark, representing the movie's satirical message about how television has replaced reading and genuine human connection in modern life. Despite having almost no dialogue and appearing on screen for just seconds, Gass managed to create what one critic described as the most quietly over-the-top performance in the entire film, using subtle facial expressions and body language to convey years of television addiction in a single moment. At the time of filming in 1995 and early 1996, Gass and Black were just beginning to develop Tenacious D, having performed their first show at Al's Bar in the summer of 1994. This early connection between the two future Tenacious D members on the Cable Guy set represents just one of many times Gass would appear in projects featuring Jack Black, including small roles in Saving Silverman, Shallow Hal, and the Kung Fu Panda films. The cameo also connects to the film's larger ensemble of comedians and character actors that director Ben Stiller assembled, including his sister Amy Stiller as Steven's secretary, and cast members from Stiller's earlier Emmy-winning sketch series, The Ben Stiller Show, like Bob Odenkirk, Janine Garofalo, Andy Dick, and writer David Cross. Fact 15. Chip returned. 26 years later. More than a quarter century after The Cable Guy premiered in theaters, Jim Carrey surprised audiences by reprising his role as Chip Douglas for a major advertising campaign, proving that the character still held cultural resonance decades later. Verizon hired Carrey to appear as the Cable Guy in a 60-second commercial that aired during Super Bowl 56 on February 13, 2022, promoting the company's 5G home and business internet services. The commercial cleverly played on the original film's premise, showing Chip arriving at a customer's door only to be told she doesn't need cable because she already has Verizon's wireless 5G internet service. Carrey fully committed to the role, bringing back Chip's distinctive lisp, his unsettling intensity, and his desperate need for connection, now directed at trying to understand how wireless internet could possibly replace good old-fashioned cable. The ad even included an extended 90-second version that Carrey shared on his social media with the caption encouraging Generation Z viewers to get comfortable for 90 whole seconds, playfully acknowledging how long that seems in the modern attention economy. According to Verizon's Chief Communications Officer, Andrew McKechnie, this commercial marked the first time Jim Carrey had ever appeared in a television advertisement for any product, making it a historic moment in its own right. McKechnie told reporters that Carrey was pretty psyched to do this and felt like the Super Bowl was the perfect moment to revisit the character, especially given how the advertising premise directly tied into themes from the original film about technology replacing traditional cable.